everybody for joining us. It's fantastic to see so many of you today. We really didn't know if there was going to be 3 or 30 or how many of us there would be today, so really fantastic. So welcome and thank you for joining us. For those who don't know me, I'm Jackie. I'm the General Manager at TSA now, having taken over from Claire last year. And well, welcome to our TSC Global Awareness Day celebration. It's really great that, you know, even now with everything that's going on, we can get together in this somewhat odd but kind of satisfying way and see each other. Okay. So look, as you know, today we're getting together because it is TSC Global Awareness Day, and we're also celebrating the launch of our parachute packs. So look, firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owner of the land on which we are meeting and speaking today, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and acknowledge any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are on the call today. It's a very exciting day for us because not only, as I say, is it Global Awareness Day, but we're also launching these new diagnosis resources. And this includes a number of different things. So it includes, and I'm going to hold them up and hope you can see them. It includes some resources we put together for families, families of and I'm not sure how well you can see this, so I'm just going to wave it about a bit. So this is our resource for families who have a suspected case of TSC, and this is for families who have a new diagnosis. So this is for people who have a child who's been diagnosed with TSC. And also, we have some information sheets for health professionals. So this is from Greg Hunt, the Minister for Health. While we know rare diseases are complex, they share countless commonalities, including the love and support individuals receive from friends and loved ones when diagnosed. For those living with tuberous sclerosis, a diagnosis can be daunting for the individuals and for those who support them. The Parachute Pack will assist them by providing up-to-date information, connections and support that they need in the early days as they learn about this disease. I commend Tuberous Sclerosis Australia for putting together this resource for their community. So we thank the Minister for his words and for his support. Now, Debbie Crosby, who I know is on the call and TSA's president, tells me that they've been wanting to produce a resource like this for a decade or more. And this development really is the result of so many people. We're very, very pleased with the end result. We think these things are going to be really, really useful and really life-changing almost for people who actually are given access to these resources. It's obviously a really difficult time, new diagnosis, and distressing for families. And many of them have described it as like being in free fall. And then that's why we call them parachute packs, because you can't necessarily stop the free fall feeling, but we do hope it will actually provide some comfort and soften the fall and provide some much needed support. Now, the packs are not just available as printed packs, they're obviously available online as well. And they're on the TSA website, and they're also available on a special site called parachute.tsa.org.au for people who receive a new diagnosis, so that they can go straight there and just find this information as quickly and easily as they need to. So we're really, really happy to have these, and I'm really delighted that they will be available for families. And we'd like to just thank some of the people who've helped in the development of these new resources. In particular, people like Miriam Chalk and her husband Kurt, Debbie Crosby, our TSA president, Mia Gromald, Sally Nicholson, and Jeremy and Michelle Lumby, who you'll hear from very soon about their own TSC journey with their son Oliver. These people have been absolutely incredible in offering their time and their feedback on the resources. We'd also like to thank the many experts who have been involved. Claire Stewart, our former GM, so thanks for being on the call today, Claire, and thank you for all your work on these resources. Also, Dr. Kate Riney from Queensland Children's Hospital, and Dr. Clara Chung, Dr. John Lawson, and Dr. David Moat from Sydney Children's Hospital, all of whom are on the call today. So we're really grateful for your support, and we look forward to hearing from David in a moment as he talks a bit about why these resources are so important. We've also got to acknowledge that we wouldn't be launching any resources today without the financial support of NIB Foundation. And we're so appreciative of their support and the fact that they have supported us in making these happen. And hopefully there's somebody from NIB on the call today, so welcome and thank you. So we've sent copies of these new resources out to our health professional network. We're doing everything we can to make sure that health professionals who need these resources, so those in children's hospitals, those in medical fetal medicine units and genetic services, are aware that they're available. But we'd also be appreciative of any help any of you can give in making sure that every family and every health professional who needs to know about a TSC diagnosis has access to this information. It's really so vital that we make sure that everyone who needs to know about these resources can get at them. And what they do effectively is they go through the basics of TSC. They help people understand what it is, what their options are, and particularly the importance of early intervention and early diagnosis. So I'd now like to hand over to Dr. David Moat, who's going to tell us a little bit more about why he thinks they're so important, both for families and for health professionals. So Kate, if you can unmute David, that would be fantastic.
Oh, so as many of you know me, you'll know that I'm always very succinct. So I think somebody on the mute button may have to press it if I go on too long. But look, I think this is extraordinary. I mean, I just wanted to give you some general comments, really. I didn't want this to make this too long. I mean, our team at Sydney Children's Hospital at Randwick in 2005, we got together and we thought we really need to manage tuberous sclerosis much better for our patients and families. And we've had the pleasure of doing that now for about 15 years. We're not perfect. There's large areas that we can do a lot better, and we're always willing to learn. And we're very pleased, though, that there's been a strategy across Australia and a lot of willingness. And so every state, I think, is pretty well served with some individuals who are very knowledgeable about tuberous sclerosis to help families. But we've got to get the two families and patients connected with the right people. And that's what this resource is about. We're part of a huge national and international effort to improve the outcome for individuals and their families in this situation. And TSC is one of those conditions, few conditions really, relatively in neurology, where the underlying genetic mechanism and the pathway involved is known. So tuberous sclerosis is caused by overactivity of a pathway called the mTOR pathway in certain tissues, and it causes tumours in a range of tissues, including the heart, the brain, and the kidney and the lungs, but also a range of neurodevelopmental problems with epilepsy and autism and even intellectual disability being more common. Not in all, but in a large number. There's been an extraordinary effort in terms of clinical trials over the last 15 years, such that now a set of drugs that target this pathway, which is overactive, it actually reduces the activity in that pathway to more normal levels so that tumours now can be successfully treated. It doesn't make them go away, but it keeps them at a manageable level so individuals do not experience any symptoms. And similarly, those medicines have now, we've got evidence that they can be used to treat very particular resistant forms of epilepsy. And again, they don't work for everyone in a perfect way, but they are certainly something that can be of use. All those drugs now are on the PBS for those indications, which has been extraordinary. And there are very few conditions where this has happened. But now the focus has really sort of shifted and needs to shift to babies and infants and children with TS in order to improve clinical outcomes by early diagnosis before seizures have happened, clinical seizures, and before tumours have occurred. So we can intervene and hopefully change the natural history of the condition. There are over 30 babies born with TSC every year in Australia, and the challenge is how do we find those individuals, those babies and infants, and how do we hook up those families with the best care. 1/3 of these babies are detected in the womb by ultrasound when the cardiac tumours are recognised. And that's sort of the first time that families may have a conversation about TS, and the suspected diagnosis package is extraordinarily useful at this time. And we want families at that time to talk to somebody who knows this condition to then put in place a plan for when that baby is born. Almost another third are identified at birth. Maybe they've got white patches or something like that, or in the first year of life they may develop seizures. And it's absolutely vital that clinicians are well informed so that appropriate surveillance can take place for seizures at that critical time to improve outcomes and minimize impact. These parachute packs are absolutely extraordinary resource for families and clinicians to make that the best care becomes available, and it's delivered in a very supportive way. So I think the time is absolutely critical, and in some ways it's taken a little while to get to this point, but it's absolutely pivotal. This is the time that we need this information, because we're targeting early diagnosis. So we're at a unique moment in time when it may be possible to completely change the natural history or the clinical course of this condition for as many babies and infants as possible, with early detection, targeted preventative strategies, and treatment, hopefully aimed at, our aim is to really cure TSC, and so that a child with TSC doesn't have a destiny of developmental problems, seizures, tumors. We really feel that this is now a time where we may be able to impact is not unrealistic. So these resources are really going to focus everyone's attention. I absolutely want to congratulate all the TSC families across Australia and the States. The TSA organization itself has been fantastic. There's been support from the government in this space as well. The medical advisors who've helped with this package, particularly Clara Chung and Kate Riney, and all the other contributors and families to this excellent resource, and acknowledge also the support of the NIB. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. We really appreciate you joining us today and for your involvement in the project as well. Really lovely of you to be involved. Thank you. We're now going to hear from Jeremy and Michelle Lumby, who've also been involved in the development of these resources, and are also the proud parents of a TSC child, Oliver, and they're going to tell us a little bit about their journey with TSC. And we thank you so much, Jeremy and Michelle, for joining us today, for your involvement in these projects, and we would like to hear from you now. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. So just a little bit about ourselves. So I'm Jeremy, and this is
Michelle.
Michelle.
Hi.
Oliver is currently doing some homeschooling. Not here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do this, because he would hog the camera. So I guess a little bit about our experience is that our diagnosis was prenatal. And so this is nearly 9 years ago. So he turns 9 this year, and it was a bit of a surreal experience for us, and hence why we, when we're asked, if we wanted to be part of the parachute pack and telling our story, we were happy to be part of that. So our experience is that we were going through an OB who had his own on-site, doing on-site scans, and we were going in for a 28-week scan, which, some people said, well, why are you doing a 28-week scan? And I said, oh, well, just what our OB does. And that's when our journey probably kicked off. With there not expecting anything, there hadn't been anything that came up in the previous scans. And then this scan, it was a bit surreal in terms of how it happened. Did our usual kind of get in there early, go in, see Dr. Farag, our OB, go back out, wait, go do the scan. And then normally what would happen is they'd finish the scan and you go back and sit for another half hour before you then went back in for your follow-up appointment to be told, yeah, everything's okay. But obviously this scan went a little differently. It was halfway through it, the scan was stopped. A big book came out, and she started going through this book and didn't say anything to us, and then said, I'll be back. And walks out, and then about 2 minutes later, she walks back in and says, Dr. Farag will see you now, which was like kind of like, oh, okay, well, what's going on? Because, you know, this is just not standard practice. We go into his office and he says, he goes, now we found something. We think it could be blah. And at this time, it was kind of like we started tuning out going, hang on, you know, worst case scenario, what's going on? And he goes, look, it may not be something, but I've organised for on Monday, you're going to Westmead and you're going to see Dr. Cooper for just a scan to make sure everything's okay. And that was pretty much all we were told. And we're just kind of like, oh, okay, right. Well, and this is a Friday. So we had a whole weekend to kind of stew over what was going to happen on the Monday. We go to Westmead, and you know, the first of many visits over the last 9 years to Westmead, and we have the scan, and then he starts talking about the lesions on the heart, and he goes, look, I think I know what it is. Let me make a phone call, and I'll see whether I can get you in at the genetics clinic. And we're kind of like looking at each other going, well, hang on a minute, you know, what's going on? And then he came back and he said, look, in an hour's time, go downstairs to the genetics clinic, and you know, you'll be met by a couple of the team down there. And it was a matter of kind of like, again, we're just going, oh, okay, what's going on? You know, we're not sure. And then that's when TSC started being talked about to us, and we were just kind of deer in the headlights, pretty much in that conversation. So we had a geneticist and the genetics counsellor talking to us, going, "Oh, look, you know, it may not be this, but you know, we'll just got to wait till Oliver is born, then to do some DNA testing just to confirm whether that's the case, and we'll organise for an MRI." So that was kind of, it's like at the 28-week scan.
We went to work afterwards, by the way.
Yeah, and off to work we went. So I had to, you know, go into the city and you know, we were both working in the city, and then it's a matter of like, but we couldn't tell anyone as well. So that was one of the biggest things, was they're going, look, it may or may not be, but it's okay. You know, don't stress too much about it, and don't go on to Google, which is the worst thing that you can say to someone, is don't go into Google. So, you know, and we did. And obviously there was the worst case scenario, looking at Wikipedia and the rest of it. But it was also, we started to see some resources. So we actually saw the TSA's webpage and started reading a few stories as well. But essentially we didn't know what to expect for the journey, because it was like everyone's experience was different for it. Fast forward to when Oliver was born, at 6 weeks, he had his first MRI. He wouldn't stand still, so I had the joy of standing right next to the MRI machine. Lucky enough, I'd been to a few concerts, so the banging away of the MRI machine didn't worry me too much. But that was his first of many MRIs. It also was the start of our journey in regards to, you know, dealing with having to do the medications. So I started off with the Sabril. It was also our start of our journey with Dr. Arden Holmes at Westmead, you know, which continues to this day, you know, for looking after him, and also with Dr. Cooper, and then along the way we've met Dr. Lewis when his lesions came up on his kidneys, and plus the other team, you know, parts of the team at Westmead. I guess our journey has been, it's been okay in regards to Oliver. He's you know, he had his infantile seizures, which was,
He was on medication from 5 months old.
Yeah, and so, you know, he had seizures that broke through, which is a bit scary at first. So he has focal seizures. So when he suddenly, you know, you're walking with him, and then he'd suddenly kind of go limp in your hand. It's like hang on, whoops, you know, pick him up and then kind of help him and then have his recovery sleep. The first lot of times he had seizures in front of family, was
scared the crap out of them.
Yeah. They our family suddenly realised how serious his condition was. And
we didn't actually tell anyone about Oliver's condition for about a year as well. We made secret trips to Westmead. We did everything. We just didn't know how they would react. And we eventually told them when we started letting people actually mind him so we could have time to ourselves.
So, and that was all around the things of like, how do we explain it to him? Because a lot of these symptoms hadn't come through. While he was on medication, he wasn't really having seizures. He was young, so he wasn't showing his developmental delays, which became a bit more prevalent as he reached around 2 when he didn't meet his milestones. But having then some basic information to be able to give to family to help understand his condition and the impacts, we got very good at being able to, tell them or to anybody, have a spiel. So you take the deep breath and do the elevator pitch in terms of, what it is and, mutation, and these are the impacts on it, and we're not quite sure of, how it's going to impact in long term. So now being part of having the parachute pack and the information packs, it's actually something where, if you meet someone and they're interested to know about it, there's something that we can send to them, or direct them to a website to be able to, read up on it and be informed in regards to how special Oliver is, or any child or any person that has TSC, and how, individually it's all different for themselves and their experiences, as well as for the carers and whatnot. So that's, I guess, a snapshot of our story. I say we're 9 years into it.
Oliver did go 3 years seizure free at one stage. That broke through about 2 years ago while we're in the States on holiday. So that was a bit like, oh, I forgot what this looks like. And it sort of has been regular on and off since then. So it was 3 years seizure free, then basically on and off now for the last 2 years. He's had seizures, primarily when he's tired. Also, he's been having some arousal sleep seizures when he wakes up from a bad dream. So it sort of hasn't calmed down to the point where we had 3 years seizure free. Yeah.
So our journey, I say, is 9 years in. Has its ups and downs, and more ups than downs, I would say, for it. He's a very good-natured,
He's very chill
child. Yeah, very, very chill.
He hates having EEGs, hates them, won't even walk into the department these days because he knows what's coming, and he hates that they draw on his head. And MRI day, he knows that he has to go to sleep and causes a little bit of anxiety, but he's just a kid. He doesn't understand. When he has a seizure now, he actually gets anxiety because he doesn't know what's going on. So it's hard, but we smile, we do, we live. Yeah. We do everything that we can to make sure he has the best life possible. And we take him away every year, take him overseas, take him to experience new cultures, new things, just so he sees the world rather than the inside of a hospital.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our
story.
That's our story, and again, why we were involved in terms of doing the pack. You'll actually see there's a couple of photos in there. You'll see his happiest place on earth, which is Disneyland, which he won't get to this year. But let's just say that's his happy place for it. So,
and we were very honoured to be asked as well. We haven't actually told a lot of people our journey. We sort of have kept it to ourselves because obviously that's our choice. But we were very honoured to be asked, and we thank the TSA very much for allowing us to tell our story, because it's nice to be able to finally have a complete, well, it's not really complete, but a story to tell and a platform to tell it on.
Jeremy and Michelle, thank you so much. That was just wonderful of you to share it. It takes a lot of courage, and we really thank you. And we thank you for your involvement along the whole way with these resources. I think, you're paving the way to help other families have a better experience at diagnosis than you did. And that's just a wonderful thing. So thank you so much. Really can't thank you enough. And thanks once again to everybody who's been involved in developing these wonderful new resources. Please do make sure you tell people about them, because we need to make sure that the people who need these get them when they need to get them, and that they, you know, make sure that they actually know that these are available. Now look, obviously today is TSC Global Awareness Day, and that's marked across the world. And Kate, I'm just going to hand over to you, because I know we've got, you know, people still out there fundraising for us at this time, which is absolutely amazing, and we are so grateful for that. And I just wanted to get you to say a little bit about Global Awareness Day, and then we'll do a bit of a zoom round to see who else has got their tats on today. Michelle, I know you've got yours on, and get people to give us a bit of a wave, a song, a dance, whatever they want to do. But Kate, first of all, I'll just hand over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Look, I've been really blown away about how many people are still getting involved in our Global Awareness Day activities for today, given everything that's going on in the world. So we're even more grateful than usual that our TS community is so involved and interested in what we're trying to achieve here, in terms of supporting you guys and getting these new resources out to help families like yours. So, you know, I guess I'd just like to say thank you to all of you for being part of this today and helping us celebrate these great new resources. And we can't do what we do without you. It's your interest and your support and you inspiring your networks that make our work possible. So thank you. And we hope today we might see photos of everybody wearing their tats for TSC and sharing a little bit about your experience, so we can try and raise awareness for this devastating disease. And, you know, with awareness, hopefully might come some funding support, which enables us to continue the fight against this disease and hopefully one day find a cure.